Hello everyone, and welcome to the first official Warglaive update episode. And in this one, you guys are going to be showcased a behind-the-scenes look at what it looks like for me to design, develop, 3D print, and paint one of the miniatures for Warglaive. In this particular video, I am actually working on the Gretsch, which are a Gretsch Tomb Maker, which is a specific unit for, well, the Gretsch faction, which are in the lore. There's not a lot of 2D concept art I can show you guys for them, unfortunately. That's some of the concept art, really need to get off the ground. But, it's a slow process, but a good process to wait for those 2D concepts to really come in. So, given that, when I was actually working on this particular model, I didn't have any 2D sketches or anything. I just had the raw idea of, like, what this particular unit looked like in my head to go off of. So that's mostly what I did. I did have to, at one point in the video, I'm not sure if it showcased at all, but I did have to pull up actually some images, some reference images for the general look of what I was looking for. I think I looked up like 4 or 5 different images of like different alien-looking worms, or I think I looked up graboids at one point. I don't know if that'll be in the video, but yeah, I just looked at like some general inspirational ideas. When it comes to the Gretsch as a faction as a whole, their whole faction, aesthetically, in my head anyway, is vastly inspired by John Carpenter's 1982 The Thing and Pan's Labyrinth. Like, the aesthetic that both of those films, for me, really affected the overall ideas that kind of flowed with the Gretsch. Now, the Gretsch as a faction are kind of cosmic horror and body horror kind of combined in a general idea. And there's a lot about them that I really want to keep as a mystery throughout the development of Warglaive. Even when we get to 1st edition, 2nd edition, 3rd edition, I can't wait to hear a lot of fan speculations when it comes to the Gretsch, what motivates them, why they do what they do, how many of them that there are. Like the Gretsch are going to be a great source for fan speculation, and again, it's one of those things where I have the very specific idea of what I know inspires them. I know how the Gretsch function. I know what drives them forward. And, as the writer, of course, I need to know all those things. But one of the hardest things I've found as I've written, not just them, but any of the factions in Warglaive, is those secret aspects, those behind-the-scenes kind of things that I want fans to speculate about, because I know the answers. When occasionally I'm asked, like, oh, why did the Gretsch do this, or oh, why do the Warborn have this tradition? What inspired this tradition? When I'm asked questions like that, it becomes really hard to pull out that whole, well, I can't tell you because it'd be spoiling, and I don't wanna reveal that just off the cuff. I want to reveal that in a novel. I want to reveal that in a comic. I want to reveal that maybe in one of the codices. Well, not codices. What I have are called archives, but for frame of reference, codices from Warhammer 40,000 is what I call our variation for Warglaive are called archives. Those are. So it's basically you guys are going to be picking up your archives at some point, hopefully in the future. I hope to picture them at local hobby stores on the shelves for you guys to buy. But I don't want to jump too far ahead of myself. But the archives, the archive books, hopefully in those I can probably reveal some little details like, 3rd edition Warglaive has this little secret tidbit that was revealed in this code, I almost did it again, this archive. There's cool ideas that I really want to explore, and I really want the fan base to speculate on everything, and I don't want to like rob anybody of that speculation time. If I reveal something, it's gonna be after I've given it plenty of time with the community to stew over, and a lot of like the solid theories to have been developed, and a lot of people supporting which theory is most likely. So I don't know. Maybe it's a part of it is my inner sadism of just watching people just go, "Is this the answer?" And I'm like, "Is it?" And if it is the answer, I just gotta keep my straight face and be like, "No." Oh God. Sorry, I'm rambling more or less at this point, but overall, when it came to the process of this video, as you guys are seeing right now, it was a lot of fun designing the Tomb Maker, and with the hindrance of not having any 2D concept art to call upon like I do for some of the other designs in Warglaive. I found that actually kind of made it a little bit more fun challenging for me, a little bit more of that artistic, like, you know, can I do it without concept art, or is this really going to fall short of what I have for an idea in my head? And it kind of did at one point. Like I said, I had to look up some references images just to get the juices reflowing, but more or less, the general idea in my head really did actually kind of come out in the sculpt, and I was happy with that. For those wondering what the general timestamp was, by the way, for the 3D sculpting side of this, it probably took me around about 9 to 10 hours or so. Because what you guys aren't going to see is I think I didn't fully restart, but there was some kind of like system error in ZBrush, and I lost a lot of my save, so I had to redo a good chunk of stuff while working on this particular model. But overall, including that time, it was about 9 to 10 hours worth of sculpting. And eventually, when I had the look exactly how I wanted it, I had the general texture how I wanted it, I then had to do the actual process of transferring everything to Chitabox, which is where I then put the supports up, and I transferred everything into a printable format, had everything sliced up, and then I brought it over to my 3D printer. For those wondering what kind of 3D printer I use to print off my prototypes for Warglaive Minis, I use the Anycubic Mono X. It's very good, very expensive. Keep that in mind. I don't spare any expense when I'm working on Warglaive. I do want some of the best stuff that I can get. So it's not just the quality of my equipment that may inevitably affect the development process for Warglaive. So I try and put my money where my mouth is and try and invest in that stuff. So keep in mind that what I have for a printer isn't practical for like the average hobbyist who just wants to get into printing because they're sick of GW or they're sick of these other things, and you just want to pick up a printer maybe just because you want to print, just because you find the novelty of it cool, or because you want to print off your own minis, anything like that. Just keep in mind there are better starting 3D printers out there, far better for a newer person into 3D printing. I'm not sure if there's any more I could really recommend, because I only have tried out a couple of the... when I was first teaching myself how to 3D print, there's only a couple I can recommend to anybody for starting ones, but I recommend people look into the Elegu Mars. I don't know which variation is best, so I'll just say look into the Elegu Mars, and then look into some reviews of like which ones are better for beginners and which are not. But Elegu has some really good reputation from what I've heard. And for those wondering what kind of resin I use the type of resin I use is water washable gray resin. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend not using black resin, solely because of the color, because I prime using a base coat of black, and then I do a zenithal highlight over with a gray primer. It's kind of hard to tell if I've actually primed everything properly if the base resin is black and then I'm doing the base coat with the paint that's also black. It's hard to tell. So just from that standpoint, I wouldn't recommend using black resin. Unless what you're looking for is just the plastic to come out, or just the resin itself, sorry, to come out the way that you want it to, and you don't actually plan to paint it or anything. You just want it to come out as that shape, like maybe you're printing off an office object. I'm not sure what you would be printing out. Whatever the case, or what you're trying to print off and you don't really plan to paint it, it's more for a practical use, then black resin's fine for that. But if you're like me and you're printing off miniatures or high detailed models, and you're planning on painting over them, I recommend gray or white or really light colored resin. Something that will definitely, you will see the distinction between not primed and primed of the miniature. So I'd recommend gray water washable resin. I know that a lot of this is background information. I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but I feel that a part of these updates videos should not just be me like throwing out the raw information of what it is I did this month about Warglaive, but also just kind of talking to you guys on a base level as a person, not just as a guy trying to market my stuff. As much as that's a smart thing to do, I also want to kind of level with you guys. But that being said, back to the putting on the marketing hat. Now, as you guys have seen, no doubt throughout this video, that I am working very diligently on this particular Gretsch model. But other than the 3D designing or prototype or printing off prototypes for Warglaive, where's the project at right now? What's the other stuff you're working on? Well, in terms of lore, I'm still currently writing up the Melina novel. Melina is a very pivotal and important figure and character in the Sovereignty's lore. She is a female Helsing, and For those who saw my Q&A in my main channel, which I plan to re-upload here at some point. But as I explained in there, that when it comes to Hellsings, they are vastly male. They are all clones from bred from a genetic pool of DNA. And the DNA is both partial, based on actual people who donated their DNA to the pool, and also a lot of artificially refined DNA. And a mixture of that is put together to create the embryos of the Hellsings, which are 7'5", big, tough badasses. Genetic badasses for the sovereignty. They're super soldiers. But what does rarely occasionally happen is every couple of 100 years, every batch has a chance of this, but there's an opportunity where there's an anomaly where a female Hellsing is born amongst her brothers. It's incredibly rare, it's incredibly odd, but it does happen. And in the modern state of the lore, there have been, overall, in terms of reported and what the people of the sovereignty, the Crypta, have actually seen in combat, there have been about 4 total female Hellsings that have joined their brothers on the battlefield. At the time Melina is born, she is the only female Hellsing of her time. The ones that came before her have all been deceased, and that's the most I can reveal in terms of minute details. The book goes over her story, her origins, and I don't know if it'll become a full-blown series with many different novels going out through her entire life, but I do have a plan for where this book in particular ends in her tale. And depending on how well it does, I might pick her story up on her in her own dedicated novels from her perspective going forward after the end of this particular novel, or she might be a character that reoccurs or reappears in other works featuring the sovereignty's perspective on things. I don't know. I'm definitely curious to see how much the potential player base and fans of Warglaive will take to her character. I think you guys will like her quite a bit. I like her quite a lot, but I'm biased. I'm the writer, of course, and I'm just curious to see how everything's taken. It's also, in my opinion, I think the book is also going to be a great way for people to get into the universe and kind of start to understand not only things from the sovereignty's perspective, but how things in the universe as a whole have kind of unfolded and how things are unfolding, and really get a feel for the setting. But yeah, that's kind of where things are at the writing stage right now. I'm still writing that novel. There's still a lot to do. It's a slow process, of course. There are some days where it's just my brain is not clicking and not wanting to put what I know I want to happen in the book on the page. So that's been a bit difficult. But overall, that's how things are going for the writing. Otherwise, am I prepping for an Indiegogo, Patreon, anything like that? Any of the when it comes to the financial support for the project, how's that looking? Right now, I'm still pretty much entirely supported by your guys' generous donations on live streams that I do, on projects that I do, on Patreon. Mad respect to those who are still over on the Patreon. I really do appreciate it. But a lot of that's coming from that. I do hope to get an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter up some point over the next couple months. But I need to really carefully plan out like the different tiers of of like how much people are willing to pledge and what's a fair reward, and like big thank you to those people who select certain tiers, like all that, like the minor stuff like that. I have a pitch for the whole thing pretty much ready. It's just figuring out what's a fair, even reward system for the different tiers of support that the project will get over there, or potentially could get. It's all in the works, but that's like marketing side of things. It's just, again, thank you to everybody who's continued to donate, just continued to support over on the Patreon. And if you're curious, if you're interested in supporting in those regards as well, I live stream here at least once a week with the GT podcast on this channel. And I also have a PayPal donate link that I need to add to the channel links here. And I also have a Patreon, which I will link in the description for those interested in supporting the project that way. But other than that, the last thing I'll mention for an overall update for Warglaive, the last thing, and I'll leave you guys to enjoy the rest of the video, is the 2D side of things, the 2D concept art, the drawings, the artwork. I have Pyrrhus, or Jacob, my bud. He's currently working on some Gretsch pieces. Surprise, surprise. He says that's the one faction we pretty much have nothing for right now. but hopefully he'll, you know, I'm not going to crack the whip too much. One thing I absolutely don't like doing is pushing too hard about things, and he's told me many times, like, oh, I get it, you know, I'm doing a job for you, I understand, crack that whip, and I'm like, sorry fam, can't do it, I'm not going to be a draconian dickhead. So I don't like to rush him. He does amazing work, especially if I give him the time he deserves to have to actually complete the projects and get things done. And I never want to be that guy who pushes him and pisses, you know, I don't want to be that guy. So, though I want things done at a fair rate, as long as he doesn't take an egregious amount of time, I'm not going to crack the whip. So he's taking his time right now, putting together some pieces for that, and hopefully a lot of the stuff I'm going to ask him to do over the next couple months is going to be much smaller projects than the last one, which is a Warborn piece he just got done. That one took 2 months, and it shows. It shows how much passion he put into that. There's so much there he did. That was really, really well done. But in the case of the Gretsch pieces, they're all smaller, and there's some other sketches I got him lined up for. All of those are much smaller. So hopefully we'll see those get all settled in. But anyway, I think that's it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this update. Sorry if it was a bit rambly. I don't want to script these. I do really want to talk to you guys. Really want to converse with you guys essentially through these videos. But anyway, that's it for me. I'll catch you guys later. Bye bye.